About 10 years ago, the town of Wareham changed its zoning bylaws, restricting drive-through restaurants to only certain parts of the town. But now a new developer is appealing to the Zoning Board of Appeals in hope for the restrictions to be lifted and a new drive-through restaurant to enter a restricted area. In the studio today, I'm joined by Mr. Ken Buckland, the Director of Planning Board and Community Development. Our discussion today discusses Wareham drive-through ban bylaw and what the ban means to the community. Is it protecting it or is it harming it through chasing businesses away? Thank you so much, Ken, for being with me this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
So I want to start this with the reason for the ban. The ban specifically targets drive-through restaurants, but not banks or pharmacies.
Correct.
So why was this ban enacted? And to my understanding, this was about maybe 10 years ago.
Yes, it was about 10 years ago. There were a couple of things that were done back in town meetings and back in the early or late 2008, 2009 town meetings, where the concern was the amount of traffic and the congestion that could happen with a drive-through in a restaurant. You know, you can think of the idea of a downtown where you'd have a drive-through wouldn't make sense because you want to have pedestrians be able to walk along the street and feel comfortable and safe, you know, to turn into the stores. So in some places it doesn't make any sense. In places where it does make sense, because there's the drive-by traffic and there's the access that's available for convenience, the character of the area can change in terms of the safety because of the turning movements of people pulling in and out of the drive-throughs. So that was probably the reason why the ban was put on restaurants, because of the amount of traffic that is generated and the congestion that can happen in the streets, the adjacent streets.
Okay, so just the traffic, not necessarily to maybe limit the amount of drive-through, because when we think of drive-through, I think of fast food restaurants, and we have quite a lot of them in this town. And some people are questioning how many fast food restaurants do we need in this town? How about we start getting a little healthier? So it was just about traffic and not about limiting these fast food restaurants?
It's probably a combination of both, you know, and people thinking that you're quite right. There's a health side of it as well too that comes along.
That you have to drive through. You're not even walking in to grab your fast food. We're in trouble there. Now, the reason that we have this discussion today is because a new developer, J. Donegan Corporation, they're the ones responsible for the Wareham Market shopping center.
That's right, Aldi's and the autos.
Yes, and they want...
2 stores that are in there now.
Oh, yes, and they want Wendy's, a drive-through Wendy's, to be there.
The original concept was they had a bank put in that location at the corner of the Toby Road and the Cranberry Highway. And they got the opportunity to have a Wendy's restaurant in there, and so they decided to see what the Board of Appeals would do, what the town would do, because it requires a use variance, a fairly stringent requirement to allow it to occur. But this wasn't the only proposal that's come before the town recently. This is just the one that's made it to the public hearing process.
Oh, what was the other one?
Well, the other ones have been in other locations around in West Wareham commercial strip and general commercial districts for drive-throughs for other restaurants in the area.
All right. Now, when developers go to a town, they survey the area and try to see if this is the town for their business, if they can do something in that town. So what has changed from when the ban was enacted to now that these developers feel like there is a little opening there that the town can change or grant them a special?
It's not just the town regulations, it's also the market. And that's probably even more important than what the town regulations say. And the market is that they have access from the interstate highways, 495 and 195, that provides them with a large market area for the West Wareham. And that's the reason why Wareham Crossing and the marketplace and Walmart have built stores in that location, that area around around this section of the town. So based on that market, the opportunity comes to have businesses that require a large amount of traffic. I mean, when Sonic came in and proposed the store in the East Wareham on the Cranberry Highway, they were talking about the number of vehicle trips that pass by, the 30,000 cars per day that travel down that highway, and that provide that pass-by traffic, because over half of the decisions being made would be those people saying that they're looking for something and they just happen to be hungry at that time.
Yes.
And they turn into the business. But what we want to do is make sure that those random turns or those the decisions to make those turns don't create conflicts. And so what we have to do is create regulations that have standards in them that address those particular issues of congestion and movement across the highway that can create conflicts.
So where the area that they're proposing the Wendy's to go in, it's a very busy area, so business is going to be very good for Wendy's over there.
Oh yeah.
So, and I, to my understanding, that the Zoning Board of Appeals will ask for a traffic study to be done to see if the traffic going into Wendy's is going to negatively affect.
Yeah, because we have the driveway entrance into the marketplace is right across from the driveway for Walmart, and so you have a lot of decisions being made about turning movements through there. Okay. So what we wanted to do was have a study that was specifically not just general information about a marketplace, but specifically about what happens with Wendy's when it comes into that location.
Okay.
Because they'll have an internal driveway system that will lead people back out to the highway through the existing driveway entrances that have been approved already.
Now, I understand that the Zoning Board of Appeals is working on new standards on having a drive-through restaurant. So what are those standards?
Well, it's the planning board, actually.
Oh, the planning board, sorry.
The Zoning Board of Appeals has the application in, and they're holding on that until town meeting takes action to make their decision about what they want to do. Looking to see if town meeting will approve it so the use variance isn't necessary. What the planning board is doing is looking at changing the regulations so that drive-through restaurants would be allowed under certain conditions. And the conditions would be those ones that have internal circulation. What they're familiar with is other businesses, like the bank across the street from the Wendy's from Toby Road, that has a drive-through, and what they're looking for is to address some of the problems they've seen in other drive-throughs. And in most cases, what they're talking about is trying to get an internal circulation, something where the traffic dumps out and the conflicting movements are controlled by internal circulation, so that the business, in terms of Wendy's, the traffic going through, turning into the Wendy's restaurant and going through the drive-through and pulling out, is all internal to the shopping center. Okay. And they then lead to the controlled intersections that are outside of that lead to outside the shopping center. So it's an attempt to try to make control the conflicting traffic movements that make the congestion so problematic and unsafe, and reduce that by having internal controls on the traffic that goes through those drive-throughs.
Okay. So with these new standards that you are considering, the planning board is considering, what do they mean for this ban? That the ban is temporary, we're going to lift it up? What does it mean?
That's up to town meeting to decide.
Okay.
What we're going to be doing is taking this article to town meeting with what the planning board thinks is appropriate controls on allowing these uses by special permit. Not to allow them just generally, but what the specific conditions and criteria are that would allow a drive-through restaurant to be built on in the commercial districts. And with that, then we'll take that article to town meeting and allow the voters to decide. It's going to take 2/3 of town meeting members to decide whether or not they want the articles. So we'll see what happens when we get out to April 23rd.
So personally, what do you think of the ban? Is it harmful to us? Is it protecting our community, keeping its little culture, whatever the culture is?
If we can create a character of the town that fits with the culture of driving that's so prevalent, and we have the drive-throughs in ways that fit in with that character of the community, then I think we're legitimate in saying the market is demanding this use. If we can design them with the design guidelines and the standards that say it's appropriate to use these, to put these in place, then I think it's appropriate. What we don't want is something to have drive-through after drive-through after drive-through rolling down the street, you know, with everybody taking turning movements and and making it very and creating a safety hazard and congestion on the highway.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being in our studio once again to clarify the situation. And voters will be voting on this come-in town meeting, right?
And they have another opportunity on February 12th to come out to the public hearing on the article that will be discussed by the planning board.
Okay.
And that'll be in the multi-service center in room 320. It's starting at 7 o'clock on February 12th.
To my viewers, thank you so much for watching. Again, in the studio, I had Mr. Kenneth Backland, the Director of the Planning Board and Community Development here in Wareham. Together, we were discussing the drive-through restaurant ban in the town of Wareham and how this ban is affecting our community and whether the ban is going to be lifted. From WCTV, I am Queen Banda, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Bye.